Hello, SummerRae. I'm going to wrap up your chart now. We're going to explore the ninth house, the 10th house, the 11th house, and the 12th house of your chart. And so you have Virgo and Libra ruling your ninth house. And when you have Virgo and Libra in the ninth, you have a very practical approach to higher learning, and you want to harmonize your beliefs. Virgo is about practicality. It's about, and when it's in the ninth house, you seek knowledge, you seek understanding. You're not afraid of hard work. You're going to be very analytical, service oriented when it comes to ninth house matters. And this could be tied to charity. You probably have a need or desire, whether or not you're actually able to do it, to provide services to communities that are maybe, what would be the word, disadvantaged, underserved. It may be something that if you're not doing it now, you maybe did it in the past. Maybe it's something you're studying to pursue or considering to pursue. And you have a harmonious philosophy about things. You want truth and balance. I know some would say, well, everyone wants truth and balance. That is not true. There are people that just simply lack the objectivity, the ability to be objective, the ability to want to have a harmonious philosophy. When it comes to ninth house matters, you're going to be very moderate. You're going to be very fair. You're going to seek a balanced perspective. And your learning, a lot of times, is based on relationships. You find higher truth by connecting with other people. And for you, it is important in ninth house matters to build meaningful partnerships. You have a great appreciation for beauty. The finer things in life you find fulfilling. And you have philosophical and spiritual pursuits. The ninth house, it's a very important house because the ninth house is about higher education, higher learning, philosophy, and religion. And your approach to these subjects, it's also associated with long distance travel, by the way. And your approach to these subjects is going to be a blend of Virgo and Libra energy. You're going to approach this house with Virgo and Libra energy. Now, you have Mars in the ninth house, as do I. So when it comes to your philosophy, your travel, your education, you're going to be very adventurous, very passionate about these things. And you're not going to be afraid of confrontation or debate either. And I'm pretty much the same way. But this Mars is about aggression. But you express your aggression in a balanced way. Okay? It might mean that you can use some passive aggressive tactics sometimes. Some people will say, well, everybody's passive aggressive. No, they're not. People with a lot of Aries placements, pretty much aggressive, because Mars rules Aries, and Mars is confrontational. I think of Mars and Aries as Fight Club, but you're on the other side of the zodiac in Libra with Mars. And so you're going to use that energy very differently than, say, an Aries would, or someone with Mars in Aries. So you have a strong drive. You have big ideas. You're not afraid to explore. Um, you are not afraid to expand in the area of philosophy and spirituality. You're not afraid to make changes if necessary. You know, some people, they, when it comes to religion and philosophy and everything, they just go with whatever they were raised with, and that's all they ever believe, and that's all they ever do. But with this placement, you can see both sides. Okay, you can see both sides of a religious argument, a philosophical argument, and so you are more able to change in these areas for that reason. Your philosophy and religion and things like that can evolve over time. You're less likely to just be in a rut, accept whatever you're told, and just see one side because of this being in Libra. You can be confrontational, but it's most likely going to be in the form of debate, especially if your beliefs are challenged. You're typically going to try to be very tactful about your beliefs because of it being in Libra. You're typically going to want to be idealistic and fair, set an example for what it means to be idealistic and fair, that sort of thing. Mars is in its detriment in Libra. So that is the reason for the passive-aggressive tactics that you might employ sometimes when you want to win or achieve your goals. So it's something to just be aware of. You want to be polite. You want to be fair. And to the point where you don't want to engage in direct conflict with people, even when it's necessary. There might be a time when it's necessary and you hold back when maybe you shouldn't. I'm not saying break the law when you're angry. I'm just saying there might be a time when you have to be like, I'm going to embrace my Mars a bit more, and make your point, maybe with a little bit more aggression. Maybe assertiveness is the right word. Now, with Libra influences in the 9th house, you may have a lot of problems with indecision when it comes to things like travel, education, higher education, philosophy, and religion. You may have trouble deciding which way you want to go. And some people say, well, everybody has indecision in these areas. No, they don't. I know people that they have followed the religion of their parents, the philosophy of their parents, the beliefs of their parents. Whatever they were taught growing up, that's exactly what they're still doing. That's exactly what they're still believing. And you might find your situation, that may have been the case for you at one time in your life, but you may find yourself being the exact opposite of that if you're not already. People with this placement, they can very easily become involved in being a professional student. They get involved in law, maybe paralegal work, something having to do with the law, international relations, publishing, anything that involves global communication. And you do love to travel, typically, with this placement. And you may even have a collection of things that you have picked up along through your travels. You have these people that have a collection of shot glasses from every state in the United States, things of that nature. And so, you know, when you have Pluto, and it's in Libra in the ninth. Now, Pluto in Libra packs a punch. Um, you have a deep desire for justice, fairness, truth. There could be some focus on foreigners, foreign cultures, foreign countries for some reason. Um, of course, higher education and philosophy. You're going to really have an intense need for balance when Pluto is here. Relationships, Libra rules relationships. And so Pluto is about transformation. So you transform through relationships. And some people might say, well, everybody does. No, they don't. I've known people that they absolutely do not transform through relationships, or they transform very little. They stay the same. They just don't let their relationships influence who they are. These people exist. I've been partnered with these types of people, and I have a lot of difficulty with these types of people. There's going to be a focus on justice and fairness, and it's going to be a powerful influence, and it's going to be a lifelong driving force in your life, whether you realize it or not. You may realize it more as you get older. This also makes you obsessively curious about having a deep understanding of spirituality, the human experience, anything that is of an intellectual nature. You are going to transform through higher learning. Whether or not you are blessed with the ability to go to college or pursue higher courses past high school, you could still self-educate. If you weren't able to take advantage of higher learning in the way that we mostly think of it, you're driven to self-teach, take your own courses online, that sort of thing. When it comes to things like philosophy, travel, possibly foreign language, you're just going to have to transform. These people tend to self-educate the most. And there's going to be, at some point, if there hasn't already, a reforming of your belief system. And it's going to be deep. And it's going to be very transforming, very life-changing, if it hasn't happened already. You want global balance, okay? There are people, it could be said, well, everybody wants global balance. That's not really true either. I know people that couldn't care less about social issues, international issues, things like foreign wars. They couldn't give a rip. But you're not one of those people, not with Pluto in Libra, okay? You do want to see balance in the world, basically world peace. And like I said, there are people that just couldn't care less. They're so zoned in on doing their own thing and living their own life. But I don't think you see it that way, not with this placement. Different cultures and your pursuit of a more just world, more justice in the world, really shapes your philosophy very intensely. So now I'm going to move on to Lilith being in your ninth house, and it's in Libra. With Lilith in the ninth house in Libra, mm, you're going to be rebellious if you haven't been already. Uh, you're going to challenge uh, when it comes to themes of higher education, foreign cultures, philosophy, long distance travel. um, when it comes to the struggle for equality and justice in the ninth house matters. Um, you could have conflict with authority figures in school, any kind of school. It may have already happened to you, maybe in high school, because, you know, the ninth house is higher learning. It's not elementary school like Gemini is associated with. And it's possible that if you are traveling out of the country or something like that on a passport or whatever, um, you could find yourself in conflict with trying to cross a border or something like that. And so that's just something to be aware of with this placement. It may have already happened. It may happen in the future. If you decide not to cross over into another country, it may never happen. But with this placement, you're more prone to that. So always make sure that you have all your paperwork, everything you need, if you do cross into Canada or something like that. People with this placement want to rebel against authority. And I know some people are like, well, everybody does. No, everybody does not. My husband, for instance, he's a Taurus. And I say when it comes to Taurus, the best way I can sum them up is good change is still change and therefore unacceptable. They don't like change. And they're very traditional usually. My husband is that way. He will not challenge authority. Okay? So this is not the case with everybody. So you may, like I said, struggle with foreign travel. Okay, for instance, in Japan, I think it's Japan or China, I'm not sure which, a woman can get arrested if she is not covered up in the chest area properly. It's illegal to show the nips, okay, in Japan, like if they show through your shirt. And so before you travel to a foreign country, make sure that you're briefed on their laws and things like that, like I said before, so that you don't break any laws because of this Lilith placement. And anything that's an established doctrine, you're probably going to challenge it. You might not challenge it out loud, but you're going to challenge it, even if it's only in your own mind. The focus is on relationships, but with Lilith in Libra, you're not going to most likely tolerate being second fiddle or being treated lesser than in a marriage or a relationship. Probably not going to be submissive. You're probably going to demand to be an equal, because Libra is equilibrium, balance, equality. And Lilith is a little rebel, okay? And so you're probably not the type to defer to your partner over every decision and accept whatever they say, that sort of thing. And like I said, you've probably had challenges with teachers and professors if you went to college, even Sunday school teachers, religious teachers, and things like that. So the struggles for people with Lilith in Libra are going to be struggles with authority and struggles with partnership, mostly. And so now I'm going to move on to your 10th house. Now, with Libra and Scorpio ruling the 10th house. This is going to be very loaded. Now, the 10th house rules career. You remember earlier I said the 6th house rules your job. It's the house of serve or suffer. It's the drudgery, that sort of thing. Well, the 10th house is what you aspire to be. Some people actually do get to have a career instead of a job. And so if you have had that experience, congratulations, because everybody doesn't get that. So because of Libra and Scorpio being here, Scorpio is about deep underlying drive for transformation and power. Okay, it's also things like Scorpio is very private, so you think of things like private investigator, things like that, investigation in general. And then Libra is the legal field. So it would be things like lawyers, paralegals, people that somehow work in the capacity of the law. It could mean being a court reporter, some kind of file clerk at the courthouse, something along those lines. When you have Libra and Scorpio ruling this 10th house of career. So, also the 10th house rules your public image, how other people see you. So people see you as mysterious because of the Scorpio influence. And they also see you as being fair and balanced, or somebody that tries to be fair and balanced and have all their facts straight. Okay, because of the Libra influence. All right. So you're going to do well with a career that involves things like balance, fairness, law, art, aesthetics, fashion. I think I said art, diplomacy in general. Now, you're going to be driven to make a significant impact when it comes to career. You're not going to be the kind, if you actually get to live a career, the kind of person that just goes in and does their time. Okay? You actually have to dig deeper. Okay? And it's not to show off. It's not to really prove anything. It's that you feel this need to do this in order to achieve balance and fairness and justice and transformation in the area of career. Oh, that's a lot. Like I said, you could end up at some point being some sort of investigator. Somebody that tries to bring fairness to a system that's corrupt. You could end up being a business leader who wants to transform and maintain a high degree of integrity in your career. So that would be very important to you. And so you do have a planet in the 10th house, and it's in Scorpio, and that planet is Uranus, and we're going to look at what that means. Okay, so you've got Scorpio, which is a feminine sign. It's ruled by a masculine planet, traditionally known as Mars, which also rules Aries, okay? But Scorpio has a co-ruler, and that's Pluto. So you have aggression with Aries, and you have transformation with Pluto. And but Uranus is rebellious, okay? And so you are attracted to careers that are unconventional. You need freedom. You need change when it comes to the career. You would have an intense, very intense public image of being rebellious and having the need to transform in the area of career. Um, there, there's a tendency that this career wouldn't be traditional, even though Scorpio can tend to be traditional. Because of Uranus there, that shakes this up. You could have very sudden shifts in your career, very sudden breakthroughs. You could be very innovative, especially, see, Uranus rules technology. And so when it comes to technology, if you're involved in that at all, you could be your own boss as a result of technology. Break away from norms when it comes to your career. Very sudden changes and breakthroughs in your professional life, basically. If it hasn't happened to you already, it may be something that happens in the future, so be prepared for that. If you're not a saver, I would recommend that you try to save every penny you can in case something drastically happens to your career and you have to reboot. So that would be my advice. I'm not a professional, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just saying because of this Uranus placement, something suddenly could happen to your career and you want to be prepared for it. Okay. With this influence, you want a lot of freedom and independence in your career. You want to be your own boss. And some people say, well, everybody wants that. No, everybody doesn't want that. Like I said, I have a husband. He's a Taurus. He has no inclinations to be self-employed whatsoever. None. Okay? We've been self-employed before. We were truck drivers and we were self-employed, but I did all the tax prep. I did all the record keeping. I did, that sort of thing because I've got Mars in Virgo in the 9th house. So, and he doesn't. So everybody is not driven to be their own boss. But that is a dream for you. Okay. If you get recognition, it's usually because you did something very unconventional in the area of career. Maybe you came up with or come up with something very cutting edge, very driven by technology, very innovative. If you haven't done it, it's probably something you aspire to do. You're going to be rebellious a little bit in the work environment. So you got to kind of watch yourself on that. Don't get too rebellious. You want basically a non-traditional job. I don't know if you have one or ever had one, but that's what this indicates that you would like. And so these people, because of the Scorpio, are very intuitive in their career, and they're very strategic when it comes to their career, and they're very innovative, especially in the area of technology. And so you may find yourself involved in some sort of work where you do some sort of private investigating, okay, for the purpose of the law, because you have Libra and Scorpio there. Libra is the law, and Scorpio is investigations, secrecy, spies, that sort of thing. So if it's something that you haven't done or aren't doing now, it's something you may do in the future. So now we're going to look at your 11th house. Okay, so you have Scorpio and Sagittarius in the 11th house, and you have no planets in the 11th house. So the 11th house is about things like humanitarian efforts. It's society at large, it's friendships, that sort of thing. And you have Scorpio there, which is things like private investigators, anything that involves secrecy, spying. Um, it's it's darkness, it's intensity. That's the energy of Scorpio. Sagittarius is Scorpio out loud. I like to say that. Sagittarius is like Sagittarius is about foreigners, travel, expansion, religion, philosophy. Um, it's the natural ninth house. It's ruled by Jupiter. And so it's about optimism and idealism. And so you take these concepts and you combine them when you have both of them ruling your 11th house. So you're going to have a focus on shared goals. You're going to have a strategic and determined mindset. Uh, you're going to share ambitions that have to do with Scorpio and Sagittarius traits and subjects. You're going to be intense in groups. So you're going to be sensitive because of the Scorpio. You're going to be sensitive to dynamics. You're going to really be able to read the room very quickly. People don't have to just hit you over the head and tell you what's going on. You're going to be able to almost immediately know what's going on. Okay? In big group settings. Okay? And you feel this need to protect your friends because of that Scorpio influence. And social causes also that you care deeply about. You're probably going to have loyal bonds with your social circles because of the Scorpio influence. And you're going to be very selective about your group of friends. And some people say, well, everybody is selective about their group of friends. No, they're not. They are not. There are some people that have terrible judgment and they just hang out with anybody, and they somehow end up in the back of a police car with people they've been hanging out with. So everybody's not selective, but you're going to be because you have Scorpio in this house. And so you're going to focus on strategic friendships, deep friendships, loyal friendships. But because of the Sagittarius desire for freedom, which is, like I said, ruled by Jupiter, Sagittarius wants freedom, and that's going to clash sometimes with the intensity of Scorpio. Okay? So, Sagittarius encourages optimism and a broad social network, but Scorpio wants to be more discriminating, wants to be more secretive, wants to be more of a spy, an investigator, that sort of thing. So these energies, they do kind of clash with each other when it comes to 11th house matters, which is mainly, like I said, the world at large, friendships and things like that. And so now I'm going to move on to your 12th house. And, I forgot to mention, if I didn't mention earlier, the 11th house is ruled by Scorpio and Sagittarius. Like I said, Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So those planets are going to color your 11th house and how you deal with 11th house issues. So now I'm going to move on to the 12th house. Okay, now you have Sagittarius and Capricorn ruling your 12th house. You do have a 12th house planet. You have Neptune in Sagittarius. Okay. Now, Sagittarius and Capricorn are clashing energies, um, because Capricorn is really about structure and being grounded, but Sagittarius is more about being expansive and optimistic and freedom loving. And so these energies will struggle to blend. Okay. And the 12th house is about the hidden and spiritual realm. It's basically the house of sorrows, troubles, secrets, and loss. It's the house of confinement. And so, what this is going to mean for you being in the 12th house is it's you're going to, with this placement, have a sense of inner wandering, uh, a sense of struggling with finding your place in the world. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but there will be a lot of struggle, and everybody's like, well, everybody struggles with that. No, they don't. They don't. Some people they just know what's going on. They know who they are, they know where they're going, and they don't struggle with finding their place in the world. A lot of these people are wealthy. Okay, I'm not saying you have to be wealthy to have that attitude, but a lot of these people are wealthy. Um, you could have a lot of internal conflict when it comes to being expansive about your beliefs and when it comes to being traditional about your beliefs. Because, like I said, Sagittarius is expansive, optimistic, outgoing. Capricorn is introverted. It's an introverted energy. It's a strict energy. It's ruled by Saturn. And, Saturn is the taskmaster. It's strictness, basically. And, the 12th house deals with past lives. Now, whether or not you believe in past lives, it's completely up to you. But if you don't, you could believe in karma, which is not exactly the same thing. It's not like believing in reincarnation. You just believe that what you do comes back to you, kind of thing. So, Saturn is karma. So, that's one thing that you have to remember. And so these karmic issues could be tied to things like long distance travel, exploration, uh, s- being self centered, and unintentionally causing harm to another person or causing harm to others because you were self centered, but you were unaware of. You didn't do it intentionally. Okay. And that kind of thing can happen with this placement. Um, and with this placement, because of Sagittarius being there, you're going to have a lot of spiritual knowledge and a lot of intuitive ability. And you have Neptune here too, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, which has to do with psychic energy. The traditional ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, but the modern ruler is Neptune. And so, with the Capricorn in the 12th house, though, you could have hidden enemies that threaten your stability, threaten your reputation, threaten your ambition. Okay? You could end up being paranoid, afraid to fail in the 12th house areas of life, ruled by Sagittarius, ruled by Capricorn. Also, the 12th house is the house of your undoing. So, it's the house of self sabotage. So, Sagittarius and Capricorn issues, traits, things like that could be your own self undoing. Okay? It could cause you to block your own success. It could cause you to feel stifled. Sagittarius and Capricorn issues and traits. Okay, because they are in the 12th house, ruling your 12th house. Now, this placement also can make you feel a sense of responsibility for things that are not even in your control. Some people are like, well, everybody feels that way. No, some people are only concerned with what's in their control. But with this placement, you could have a sense of duty that's so strong for a hidden cause or a place of suffering. So when you combine these energies, the philosophical nature of Sagittarius with the structured and practical traits of Capricorn, this is going to be, the 12th house is going to be the arena where these two conflicting energies play out. And it may not have happened yet. It may be something that happens later in life because Capricorn rules longevity. Oh, sorry. When it comes to spiritual guidance, you want a very structured way of exploring spiritual guidance and your spiritual path. It's very expansive, okay? And it can be mutable, which means changeable. But you approach this with structure, okay, because of the Capricorn influence. And it's an inner journey of moving beyond things that limit you through your ego and through the material world. For spiritual work and finding a very deep sense of purpose, these two signs, even though they have very conflicting energies, they will get you there. So it's not a picnic. It's not a picnic, but it's just going to lead to you being very practical, navigating your subconscious fears. Capricorn is going to help you do that because, like I said, Capricorn is discipline. Capricorn is structure. Saturn's not going to let you get too carried away in 12th house matters. So it's a unique blend of, spiritual intuition and the need for stability and things that are tangible. So I wanted to look at one last thing, and that is in your first house, most people with a common name have an asteroid named after them. Now, there's not an asteroid named SummerRae, but there is an asteroid named Summerfield, and it actually appears in the first house of your chart. Isn't that wild? And so I just think it's uncanny that Summerfield ends up in the first house of your chart, and the first house is about identity. So I just thought you might find that interesting. But anyway, I have enjoyed doing your chart, and I hope it's helped you. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. God bless. Bye-bye.